Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Libra energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as High Vibe Libra. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy. We all can have our shadow nature, which can kind of represent our fears and insecurities. It can also represent kind of our comfort zone. The high vibe row could kind of represent for some people how they're trying to live their life, but it's a journey, it's a process. They could still struggle with a lot more of their fears and insecurities and repeating some patterns and kind of staying in their comfort zone than some other people who maybe did it longer, had more practice, and those people are kind of moving on differently. So when we kind of work through some issues, if we kind of complete the cycle and kind of learn what we're meant to learn from that cycle, then it kind of sets us free. And the reason for the top rose reading is to get the justice we deserve, which is Libra energy. And to harness high vibe Libra within ourselves. The bottom row, the more shadowy row, can talk about how we're kind of out of balance, but maybe we don't see the truth of it. Because shadowy energy is about kind of being in denial of the truth. We could kind of be out of balance. We could not see the truth that other people that we're in a relationship with are out of balance. And then that can kind of keep us in a more imbalanced relationship. And we got lessons to learn in life. There's things kind of... People can present themselves any way they want to in the world, but what really kind of more drives and motivates them, high vibe would be wanting to work together with people in a just and fair way and motivated and inspired to work together with people from a place of love. And some people in the world don't want to do love. You can get hurt doing love. Don't really want to be just and fair. Might like it to be more about themselves. The reason for the bottom rose reading is the Ten of Wands, which can be where people are more inspired by themselves or the world. They could always move forward in things. The tens could be the completion of a cycle. Like the opportunity is there. And we've all done that, where we've kind of like we're at the precipice. Like if I face my fears and my insecurities and I have some more hope and faith and belief in myself, I can move forward in life a little differently. But I have to maybe in the Ten of Wands stand up for myself. Have good boundaries to not indulge myself or others in poor behavior. What's underneath it? The sword, the ace of swords, or the page of swords. And the page can represent like all three of the air signs. Gemini in our dualistic nature of free will. Nope, I'm going to have more hope and faith and belief in myself and in my Libra energy and my Aquarius energy to maintain balance within myself, keep standing up for my truth, have hope and faith and belief in myself. And the people who are able to maintain that within themselves, standing up for their truth, maintaining balance within themselves, high vibe Aquarius, staying focused on the big picture, keeping things in perspective, not kind of repeating some poor past patterns or other people in poor past patterns. Those people kind of move forward differently. The Ten of Wands, and up here we start out with the Knight of Wands. That is Sagittarius energy, and in high vibe, it's about higher learning and education. We'll all repeat certain patterns because it keeps us in our comfort zone. We don't have to do anything different. We don't have to face our fears, don't have to become independent of anything. We just got to keep doing what we've been doing, and we could all do that many, many times until we've kind of done it enough where the Ten of Wands, and right before the Ten of Wands is the Nine of Wands, and that can talk about, you've maybe tried to put in a lot of work and effort to move things forward, and you kind of feel wounded, and how long are we going to keep repeating? It was one thing to get into something, right? Like we all became 18-year-olds, we all became 21-year-olds, we all became 25-year-olds, but it was great, but are we going to keep doing it over and over and over because we don't want to see the truth? We want to turn our back on the truth? Oh no, this will be great. I'll just keep doing this. Well, if we keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over again, are we really going to get the justice we deserve? oh, look, I'm still living my life like a 25-year-old and I'm 35 or 45 or 55 or 65 or 75 or 85. You know? I mean, did we aspire? That's fire sign energy. To work through some of these issues that manipulate us. Kind of, the bottom row also. Down here we have the devil and we have the sun. And the sun is Leo energy, which can be us and our ego nature within ourselves. Are we going to keep being manipulated more by our lust, our greed, our pride, our ego, our fear, our codependency, our insecurity? When are we ever going to be illuminated to the truth that these things that manipulate us keep us from getting the justice we deserve? We can do it if we want. We've all got free will. And some people will keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over. And some people, in their fire sign nature within themselves, and in their Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini nature within themselves, and their air sign energy, they are more about maybe themselves or the world. The devil kind of represent the world. And all these things of the world. Nope, that's my truth. I am sure those things will make me happy. Making it more about me, being immature, never having to temper my ego, never having to grow up. Because in order to kind of keep growing and healing and maturing yourself, you have to kind of temper and stand up to your own more immature egoic nature. And then all the people in your life that you might hang out with living your life like that, who want you to keep living your life like that. Even if it was, we can have people in our life, you can be a more loving and encouraging person, and you're almost loving and encouraging to a fault, have that hopeful, believing spirit. Everybody's motivated and inspired by truth and love, aren't they? And you get in some relationships with people that are like, love that you think that way. As long as you're willing to stay in a relationship with them, they're willing to stay in a relationship with you. But oh, by the way, they don't have hope and faith and belief in love. Might love to indulge themselves in a relationship with people, but they're really kind of more about themselves, just how it benefits them, or the ego or the image or the status of it. But so long as you have a hard time seeing the truth of that, well, hey, you should stay at this job. We should stay friends. We should keep dating. We should get married. We should stay married. And we got some lessons to learn about some people in the world. And eventually, we get in those jobs, friendships, and relationships because that's our truth. Libra is kind of like the other air signs, can be about what our truth is. And if you think that way, like everybody has hope and faith and belief and love, don't they? Isn't everybody motivated to be in relationships and want to be in relationships with people who are just and fair and loving and encouraging and supportive? Well, yeah. So long as you don't require them to be more just and fair and authentic and loving and encouraging and kind of come out from behind their ego nature of being more about themselves. The devil hides behind their ego. They are defensive to letting their more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play because they get hurt out there. So somewhere along the way, some people made the decision, nope, I'm not letting my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play in the world. I'm going to hide behind my ego nature. My authentic nature can look out through the eyeballs, but my ego is going to run my life. I got to protect myself. And so for the people in the world that could be a little more shadowy, we've all been fearful. We've all been more codependent. We've all been immature and went to go indulge in a bunch of things in the world. It's just that some people kind of look at life in all three of their earth sign energies, their worldly nature of self in the Ace of Pentacles and their Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus energy. They kind of are inspired to look at life from a higher perspective. Don't like feeling manipulated. Not so much about indulging themselves in their ego or wanting to see the truth. When they start to feel overwhelmed and wounded, it's just like, I got to move away from that, man. That is not working out the way I thought. And we'll go all invest in things. And then, the Ace of Pentacles and High Vibe is about the truth also. Learning lessons in life. Yeah, that was maybe fun for a while, but if I keep doing that, that might drag my life into hell. Yeah, no, I gotta stop that. Need to temper myself. Sagittarius is also represented by the Temperance card, kind of balance out the fact that in my fire sign nature and my worldly nature, there can be a lot of things that I could enjoy. Should I go indulge in all those things to a certain degree? No. High vibe energy is about balance. The world was created for you to enjoy. It's a beautiful place. It has all these different things to go experience. Keep it in balance and moderation, where you don't let, high vibe energy is also maintaining balance within yourself. And in tarot, we have the 4 suits of the deck: the heart, the mind, the 3D nature, our worldly nature, and our creative, passionate nature. They're all equally important, but shadowy energy can be where we either keep tipping into one or the other, like, oh my goodness, now my heart runs my life. Oh my gosh, now my defensive nature runs my life. Now my immature nature runs my life. Now I'm going to make it all about these things in the world. And it's like scattered energy. It's kind of like the devil. Scattered energy, trying to, just not balanced and kind of more unified. Balanced within yourself. It's like, okay, I have my emotional nature, I have my worldly nature, I have my truth, I have my lust, I have my passion. If I don't, it's kind of like trying to drive down the road of life, staying within the bumper guards of life. I can kind of go over here and I can kind of go over there, and I can tap more into my emotional nature in romantic relationships with children, whatever. When I'm at work, I can go more over into my worldly nature and from my mind, but I stay kind of within the bumper guards of life, not going so far that I kind of drive my life off into the ditch. And then it can be really hard to get our life back out of the ditch, because the devil kind of talks about those things that we thought for sure. We got kind of out of balance. We got caught up in some things, and then it kind of gets a stranglehold on us. And then we're so blinded by it, we're like, oh no, man, this is the answer. This is going to make me happy. That we're kind of not seeing the truth. And then we'll repeat that pattern over and over and over. And for a long time, we'll keep investing in it. So in our more worldly nature, the Ace of Pentacles, when we're still more kind of on a journey of learning some lessons, and in our worldly nature of our Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus energy, we're really sure that in the 8 of Cups, this will make us happy. And we move forward with something. In the 7 of Wands, I can talk about moving forward with something that we are sure we're on the right path. And it's going to be victorious and successful, and we're defending it. And we can be in jobs, friendships, or relationships with other people. And we can all do that. The only thing is, the people who are maybe in their earth sign energy harness a more high vibrational earth sign energy within themselves and more high vibrational air sign energy within themselves. Those people are kind of inspired to learn lessons in life. And they can get in those jobs, friendships, or relationships. And it's kind of like, okay, that was a phase of life, and we've kind of done it, and now, I kind of think we've learned everything we needed to learn here. It's time to move forward to the next phase of life. Just like we did when we went from 15 to 18 to 21 to 25. And then with some of the people in their life, they do move forward with those people, and they go to the next stage of life. But some of the people are like, yeah, no, you can go. I want to keep doing this. And we've all been there, right? Sometimes we were doing whatever way of life, and some other people in our life are like, You really want to keep doing that? Aren't you kind of ready to move forward a little differently? Haven't we done that enough? Lived at that stage of life long enough? And we were like, no, I'm going to keep staying here. And partly it could be because, you know, we're all on a different journey. That can kind of be what Sagittarius talks about, of learning these lessons. And we have different lessons to learn than other people. Sometimes we could be at a phase of life where um, maybe we're working through a bigger issue of a lesson that we need to learn at that phase than some other people. They might have a bigger, harder lesson to learn later in their life. I know I'd rather get them done earlier in my life, you know? But we've been there and we've had other people move on in life and kind of like, yeah, they want to keep doing this and that's still how they view life. And, I did too, but I decided I wanted to move on. And then sometimes we were the ones who moved on. So people are in those stages with people at any given moment in our life. We can have some people in our life. Capricorn could represent workplaces, all these kind of different institutions of the world. Um, where we can be in a neighborhood, be in a workplace, be in an organization, be in a family dynamic, friendship dynamic. Some of the people, we seem more on the same page with than we do others. Some, you know, I could know some people that I think are kind of more maybe full of themselves, is what these two cards can talk about. Maybe manipulative, prideful, stubborn, immature is what they can talk about. Maybe much more caught up in things of the world, more so than other people, like what they wear, what they drive, and keeping up with the Joneses or something. And then there could be other people who are a little bit more inspired emotionally, not so much by those things, and maybe are a little more creative and inspired within themselves to maybe look at life from a higher perspective than be so caught up in themselves or in these things of the world that they make so important. And it's kind of at any time in our life, we're kind of, if people are ready to want to move forward in life differently, it's kind of working through this difficulty, because the difference between the Seven of Wands and the Ten of Wands is the Three of Wands, which in our Aries energy, we wanted a dream to come into reality. And up here we have the Star card, which is Aquarius energy, which also can be about our dreams. And the Eight of Cups is going to the Nine of Cups. So technically this Seven of Wands can also kind of represent the Nine of Cups, and the Ten of Cups, which is Pisces energy, which is about emotionally having a dream of being more inspired to look at life from a higher perspective. And, some people just aren't ready to look at life from a higher perspective. For the first 30 to 50 years, we're pretty caught up in the world and all these things of the world. Some people more about themselves, other people just still putting in a lot of work and effort to manifest some of the things they want to manifest in the world. And maybe later people start to kind of get more inspired kind of within themselves. That also is the Three of Wands, which is Aries energy, about the self. Was I all caught up in those things? Yes. Do I still put work and effort to have those things? Because if we put work and effort into our career, our stability, learning what we like and what we don't like in the world, But eventually we could just get more inspired to quit letting so many of those kind of things and the world at large and all that stuff kind of more consume us. And that's when some people are like, I'm ready to have a new beginning. I'm ready in my fire sign energy within myself to look at life from a higher perspective and take the lessons I've learned from these different experiences in my life, from the Four of Pentacles to the Five of Pentacles, to take those lessons that I've learned with me. And high vibe energy is also kind of represented by fire sign energy and emotional sign energy. of listening to your intuition, and we were given our intuition to help guide us in this world, when it kind of tells us it's time to move forward. You know, shadowy energy can be where it feels dead and stagnant. You're not giving birth to anything new. And part of the reason is because we have this fear of going out there in the world and doing something a little different. And so we keep staying in our comfort zone. And again, everybody can be there at different times in their life. You know, if we communicate our truth to other people in our life, we can be loving and encouraging to people. But if it gets to where we can see, again, how we would like to move forward and their idea of the dream life, maybe how to treat people in relationships that they think is just and fair, that you might not think is just and fair. If you you could have some people in your life that you think are more full of themselves, more consumed with things of the world, more immature or self-indulgent. Those people in turn might not be on the same page as you, just like you at times have had people that kind of viewed you that way and they moved on, you know. Those people in turn could have people in their life that they view that way, you know, and they could move on from those people. You know, we can all kind of see the truth. It's easier to kind of see the truth maybe of maybe flaws that we see in other people than it is for us to see it within ourselves. And that's kind of the big thing, is when it's important to see the truth. If we do have people in our life who are kind of tempting us to want, maybe because they know we would like things to be more balanced with them and we could love them, whether it's adult, child, brother, sister, mom, or dad, or a long-term friend or whoever. But if we feel they're kind of like sitting back here like, I don't know, in shadowy energy, kind of like they want to be indulged, like, I am not willing to do anything different. I know you love me. I know you like me. I know you want this to be just and fair. But I've kind of showed you I don't really want to be just and fair. You know, and that's the thing that eventually people see and they work through. I have a dream I want to bring into reality. I, all by myself, cannot bring that dream into reality. And that can also be the Ten of Wands, that people feel overwhelmed because some people have been putting in all this work to try to move things forward, to make it just and fair and more stable and more grounded and more balanced and inspired by truth and love. And the other people are just coming with kind of indulging themselves in it. And loving people can be motivated within themselves to put in a lot of work and effort to make relationships just and fair and balanced and loving and all that good stuff. But eventually they kind of, if the other people aren't equally inspired within themselves to move a relationship forward and work together more cooperatively in a more just and fair way, you know, I can't change other people. They have to be motivated and inspired within themselves. They have to be willing to see the truth. Leo, high vibes about illuminating the truth. And some people are like, no, I don't want to see the truth. No, not going to look at it. No, not going to get balanced in Libra energy of the Three of Swords. I'm not going to get balanced more between my mind and my heart. I've decided this is my truth. This is how I want to do life. And I guess if you love me and you like me and you want to be in a relationship with me, well, then I guess you're just going to have to kind of indulge me in my poor behavior of some sort, or the way I look at life or view life or something. And some other people don't think that's just and fair. And eventually, the difference between the One Sword and the Three of Swords is the Two of Swords, which is Libra. You know, we can go back and forth. It's kind of like, you know, it can be really hard if we're dealing with some people, whether it's a neighborhood person or a coworker. Or, that one's probably not so hard. It's harder if it's probably a long-term friend, romantic interest, or family member, because we really have a hard time accepting the truth that some people just really, it doesn't seem to be love and working together with people cooperatively that seems to drive and motivate them. And it can be hard to accept that you think you have some people in your life that are kind of quite immature or shadowy. And then people are like, you know what? They have the free will to live their life the way they want. It's not my truth. And I don't find it very fulfilling. And the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups, which it's kind of like walking away from the illusion. You could have been attracted to people. You could have gotten in relationships with people, or, they're just people that you have love for. But again, you could think some people have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. They could be happy. Anybody who's being more immature, bratty, bossy, controlling, manipulative, lazy, whatever, they're not the ones putting in the work and effort equally. Well, yeah, again, it works for them. They're okay. It's great. We should stay in this. Yeah, I want to come with. And it's like, no. And it's like, no longer in two minds about the truth. It's like Judgment Day, kind of with the Justice card. People who are more shadowy in some way, because loving people put in a lot of work and effort to make things work, the shadowy people think, well, damn, this is great. I really don't have to put in work and effort, and this person does most of the work, carries most of the load, and they kind of indulge me in, like, this is great. But it's because the other people, could hope that one day they'll be illuminated to the truth and kind of get motivated within themselves. Do you see how nice this is? Wouldn't you like to work together with people this way? And they're like, oh, why? I could just go find someone else like you. And that's what ended up with some of them is going to happen. Because eventually the people in their life called judgment on them. The reason for the top rose reading is the Justice card. You have different ideas of what you think is just and fair. And maybe in how to treat people. And eventually the other people get defensive and they don't want to keep moving forward with them. Finally kind of standing up that this has to be just and fair. And, if it's romantic, it should be because of love, not to indulge in it, not because it's good for the ego or the image, but to really be invested in it and inspired to be in it emotionally out of love. And then you're naturally kind of aligned with, in a balanced way, of realizing I should treat other people the way I like to be treated, and I shouldn't be in a romantic relationship for all these other reasons. Because if I do, odds are other people eventually that might indulge me for a while, caught up in the illusion of how I present myself, or of who I try to tell people I am, but the devil lies. But initially, they can wear a very good false mask. You could look at the sun as kind of representing God. And they tried to wear a false mask and go out there in the world. Look, world, look, I'm this just and fair and stable and grounded, loving person who's learned these lessons in the world. I'm not caught up in the illusion of myself. I'm not more caught up in the world. That's not why I want to be in a relationship. It's not just more about me or the status or the ego or the image, but it is. And eventually, other people kind of figure out the truth, and the other people move on. They have kind of grown up to stand up for themselves, love and believe in themselves, and that's why some of us went through those experiences. We needed to learn not everybody is motivated and inspired by love. Some people are very fearful of love, defensive to love, stay in the relationship until I start to feel like, oh my God, I kind of feel like I want to come out from behind my ego and do love. And that's when it's like, whew, I got to get out of here. We have hit the danger zone. And all of this journey for some people was get them to be inspired to see the truth. That some people are more aligned with their worldly view of life and maybe indulge their more defensive nature, prideful nature, being more about themselves, their more immature nature, want to be in more codependent relationships. And from going through those experiences, You learned some valuable lessons. You learned to stand up for yourself. Probably forced you to learn how to love yourself and be inspired within yourself, to get balance within yourself because you didn't want to keep repeating that pattern. And you're inspired to, sometimes depending on how this could have went, and every experience you go through could be where it requires you to stay focused on the bigger picture, to drop the burden. To go from the 10 of Wands down to the one wand is to let go of the 9 of Wands. And if there's some people you've been trying to off, where some people are much more worldly or shadowy. Other people you can meet, they might have gotten out of that phase, but then, all these different phases, again, like detaching from your more worldly, shadowy, codependent, caught up in the world nature can be stages. Some people are here, other people could be here, other people are there, other people are here, other people could be here, and then other people are here, and depending on where you're at, you're going to have people further ahead on the journey than you are, and you're going to have other people that are still working through some phases of life you've already been through. And as you move forward, you could communicate with some other people in your life that you've detached from certain habits, vices, way of living life, viewing life, jobs, friendships, relationships, and you're moving forward. And then you could kind of go through that phase of life, and you're kind of like, the people that are moving forward with, you're inspired by this new beginning, that you're not doing this anymore. Wondering if other people want to work together with you in that way. And some people might, some people won't. And then you do that phase of life, and then it's like, no, it's time to, we kind of completed a phase here. We had to work through our fears and insecurities again. Nope, it's time to move forward. Again, could communicate our truth to some people moving forward who wants to come with, and some people will, some people won't. We get out of our ego about it. We accept the truth of it. Everybody's where they're at. We move forward differently, and while we move forward, there's other people that were already at that stage of life, and they're happy that other people came up the path of life that are kind of more on the same page as them. Again, it's like, when we were 15, we hung out with people. When we were 18, we hung out with people. When we were 21, when we were 25, when we were 35, when we were 45. And some people in the world, kind of took more time in these different stages than some other people. And other people kind of raced through them faster than some of us did, right? And at any stage, we can be sad to leave behind. The more prideful, selfish, greedy, immature, want it their way or the highway, full of themselves, very materialistic maybe, or indulge in things and think, that's the answer. That's what's going to make me happy. They could stay at a much, what would be referred to as a lower vibrational level. They had the possibility, and it's okay. Different strokes for different folks. If we live in a world of duality where people have free will to pick and choose, you kind of look around the world and it's like, does that seem like, do I want to live my life like that? We're kind of being... Everybody can be trying to entice people in a way. No, live like me, hang out with me, be my friend. No, live like me, hang out with me, be my friend. No, be like me and hang out with me and be my friend. It's just that the more shadowy or abusive or immature people are, there's always going to be people for them to be in a relationship with. And there's going to be people for everyone to kind of be in friendship or relationship with. It's just, are you willing to get to know people, not stay in denial of the truth when people show you they have certain traits, characteristics, habits, ways of treating people, whatever, that you kind of already experienced people in your life that are like that, and you don't care for that? Quit thinking, if you're here, why are we getting in relationships with people who are living their life in a way that we could feel like, gee, that's kind of like how I lived my life maybe when I was like 18 or 21, and if I'm not 18 or 21 or worse than that, maybe just a really more, and not like 18 and 21-year-olds are bad, but it's just a different way of looking at life. It's much more going and experiencing and indulging in more in these things of the world than you would maybe expect someone to be acting or behaving at 35 or 45. I mean, every stage of life is kind of like a just and fair stage of life to go through as part of the growing and maturing process. It's just that some people could be, however old they are, and they're still in this energy. It's like men and women who act like ninth graders, or junior high people. They're petty, they're bullies, they're, just shadowy and really immature. If people show us they're somewhere in a phase that I've already dealt with people who are like that, well, we've learned that we already don't like that. And we've probably already been in more involved relationships with people like that. And we can only offer people truth and love and encouragement. High vibe energy would be trying to be loving and encouraging to people in the world, not wanting to really be someone who throws another log on someone's fire, but, be one of the people trying to inspire other people to love and believe in themselves, to, get themselves out of situations where they should be, because the whole thing is try to treat other people the way we like to be treated, and that people deserve to be in relationships with other people who treat them, in the way they like to be treated. So then you move forward, and then from the 1-1 to the 9 of Wands, the more we go, and it's kind of like getting experience, the more swiftly we move forward, the more experience we have. And that's why some people, whatever their experience level that they've had in life, just like you could be the same age as someone, say at age 45, but you've had, maybe went and had, 8 or 10 jobs in your life, right? Or more when you were younger, if you did stuff when you were like 15 to 18 and 21, and then maybe less possibly as you got older. But you have experience just going and getting a new job, and you know that how it works, and that they're willing to work with you to help you learn what you need to know because they've invested in you. They kind of want you to be successful. So it's generally not to like, well, you're just supposed to do all this and automatically know how to run everything, which nowadays with just the phone systems and the copiers, it's like, yeah, how do you run this copier? How do you run this phone system? How do you forward a phone call? How do you transfer a phone call? Learning the computer system and the computer software can be like a nightmare. But you have more experience with it. And so you're much more comfortable being willing to move forward in things than someone who's maybe had one job their whole life or two jobs their whole life. It's just that experience of the people who keep being willing to face their fears and keep believing in themselves and dealing with the truth, seeing where they need to grow and heal and mature, listen to their intuition when people are being unjust, unfair, manipulative. No, why would I stay somewhere where people are creating a little hell on earth? In a world of duality, if I'm somewhere where people are creating a little hell on earth, well, that's a sign I should go, because in a world of duality, that means God is creating something better that exists. But if I want to stay defensive to seeing the truth or listening to my intuition, I can stay stuck in some place that's like a little hell on earth. Or I get inspired to stand up for myself in the world. The 4 of Pentacles, like the Devil, is Capricorn energy. But high vibe Capricorn is like freeing yourself from these things that manipulate you. And to kind of move forward, kind of working with I'd kind of look at the Ace of Wands is just because it has a person in it, as kind of like standing up for your own inner child nature that has this more hopeful, believing nature, seeing who does, seeing who doesn't. And as you start putting more hope and faith and belief in thinking you have more to work with than just the world, because whether a person's religious or not, we do live in a world of duality where it seems like these forces of opposition, kind of shadowy energy represented by the devil, high vibe energy represented by God, battle each other. And we have that dualistic nature within ourselves. And we have more to work with than just the world, but some people really don't trust and kind of believe in themselves and don't trust listening to their intuition. We've all listened to our intuition, and we could have gotten in some things that, but it's in Sagittarius energy to look at it that it was all an adventure we were on to learn all these lessons. And if we take the lessons we learned, instead of kind of staying in our ego about it, like, nope, there were some shadowy people out there in the world, I'm not going to trust anyone anymore. Well, then, it's kind of like we didn't wrap our brain around this game of life. There is shadowy people out there in the world. Take that truth of what you learned with you, but not everyone is shadowy. And keep loving and believing in yourself. Leave the shadowy people and ways of being behind and invest in loving yourself. Get out of the illusion. Do not be an illusion. Do not stay in denial of the truth. Stand up for yourself, your truth, what you think is just and fair. The people who are willing to work together with you in that energy, being more just and fair, are the people you should more invest in and move forward. And the people who show you, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm kind of bitchy or rude or mean or condescending or whatever. Yeah, let them go. Let them be that way with whoever wants to be that way with them. See the truth, learn the lesson, become independent of them, stand up for yourself, work through it. That it can be confusing and it can be sad because we could have been attracted or blah, blah, blah. To not stay in denial of the truth. If people were interested in working with people in a more just and fair and balanced and authentic and loving way, they would. And if that's not their truth, they won't. But it can really be hard when people that you used to view that way, and the whole thing is people are going down the path of life, they could have been more that kind of person, but at any time people can kind of drift their life off into the ditch, and then they're not that person anymore. It's like perpetually going on the path of life where you're kind of rolling a ball or a big ball up a slight incline. And it takes being inspired within yourself to want to keep putting in kind of that work and effort instead of kind of like, oh, this is too much work and effort. Screw that. I think I'll just kind of go back here and kind of indulge myself. And then they're not really doing that. And that sometimes can be some people's plan. I want to get someone to invest in me and move forward with me. And then when I think I have them invested in me, then I'm going to go repeat some poor past patterns. And then I think they'll be defensive of getting out of it. And they'll probably be confused. And they'll stay in the state of confusion for a really long time. And they're like, cool. And they might stay stuck there forever. Wonderful. Oh, and are you going to try to keep putting in a lot of work and effort to make it work? Yay! And some of us, we've been there. And then, we can't stay in denial of the truth any longer. And we're going to stand up for our own creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature that feels left out in the cold being in relationships with people like that. And we kind of realize that kind of in the Five of Pentacles of Taurus energy and our philosophy of life, their philosophy of life is different and what they think is just and fair. And maybe at one time they seemed to be someone who seemed more stable or grounded or acted with character and integrity, and they did. But then maybe, the thing can be, if you're kind of ready to move forward in life a little differently, the relationship can go just fine until you kind of do start to have more hope and faith and belief in yourself. And the Five of Pentacles can be about detaching from the Four of Pentacles. I had a way again of living life and viewing life. And so long as I lived life that way, viewed life that way, we all got along fine. But when I kind of got inspired to kind of look at life differently, where these things or these people or whatever it was that I was kind of caught up in, that just being more about that, it's like not enough. It's like making your life all just more about these things of the world and the ego and the image and the fear and the codependency or the lust or whatever. High vibe energy would be, I want it balanced, and that could be, I haven't really viewed the Five of Pentacles this way before, but we have the Two Pentacles on this side and we have the Two Pentacles on that side, and then we have the common pentacle in between. There are things that I want to accomplish in my worldly life I want a home, I want a job, I'd like to be in friendships and relationships, things like that, and there's things I can enjoy, having a drink here and there, going out to eat, blah, 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 going to movies, whatever it is that people like. But I also have my more emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired nature. And when I made my life just more about these things of the world, I could have felt like, it really got tipped out of balance being just so much about those things, or the people I was in relationship with was so much about those things. It's like I equally want it, to be inspiring emotionally and abundant in its own way emotionally. Some of this and some of that, balance. And some of the other people could be like, no, this is the most important thing. It either has to be all about me and indulging me, or no, it's more about these things of the world, or whatever. And to some degree, some people are very imbalanced and like very imbalanced relationships. Like you give, I take. Other people can be slightly more balanced, And as you probably learn these lessons in life, you find your new state that you're comfortable with as you kind of go through your life. And when you kind of, I guess in tarot, they probably refer to it as kind of like being on a different timeline, which can just be, again, how you view life, what motivates and inspires you. And at every one of those stages of life, some people move forward with us, some people didn't. And it's to find other people who we think are on that same page as us, because it's working with other people at any stage of our life that are kind of on that same page as we are. And if they're willing to keep moving forward and they're willing to keep staying focused on the big picture, and we keep having, maintaining balance within ourselves and being loving and encouraging to each other, we're staying focused on the big picture. And with those people, we keep moving forward with. And sometimes not like other people necessarily have to be shadowy, but just their idea of the dream life, I want to live here, you want to live there. I like to do these things. I never thought you'd like to do those things, and now those are the things you like to do. And I don't care, we just kind of get not on the same page with some people. And, if those were people, friends or family or neighborhood people, we can still be in relationship with them. We just accept that we're kind of just don't like doing the same things anymore. Can we wish everybody peace and love? Yeah. Still get along okay? Yeah. We just don't hang out maybe the way we used to because we're kind of doing different things. So, in high vibe people are trying to inspire other people to have hope and faith and belief in themselves, to work through things that manipulate them to move forward to get more balance within themselves, and people in turn that they could have in their life do that with them so that everybody can move forward. Now, there can be shadowy people who try to present themselves as being a high vibe person, like, oh no, you should move forward with me. Oh yeah, I have hope and faith and belief in love, and I'm this just and fair person. But they're hiding behind their back that they're more inspired by the world. And so, again, it can be someone wearing a false mask, but they just try to present themselves as high vibe so people will get in a relationship with them. And again, people get in the relationship with them and they think this dream is going to come into reality and they move forward with them. And then they find out that they kind of feel left out in the cold because it's not equally balanced in, again, shadowy Libra, living more from the mind than the heart, can be like it's a strategy. And then, but if people aren't authentically inspired within themselves to authentically want to be in relationships with people, to freely give of themselves, like emotionally, it like looks like love, quacks like love, dresses like love, but it's not really love. It's like a mental strategy. And then I think those people are always overwhelmed in a relationship, waiting for the other people to see the truth because they know they're kind of being deceptive and manipulative. They don't really do love. They look like love, they talk like love, they act like love, but it's all just a strategy and hoping to kind of trap a loving person in a relationship with them. It's kind of like the devil didn't want to temper their ego in a relationship with God. God could have been loving and encouraging, and eventually God's like, and it was really interesting. I don't know. I think I Googled like if angels had free will, and I ended up. I've tried to find it again. I've searched for it again. I can't find it, but it ended up being this PDF that I downloaded, and it was someone. It was kind of like a theology paper, maybe somebody being a pastor or priest or whatever wrote, and they said the angel. It's believed that the angels did have free will. And, then it was kind of like the devil wanted to be God, but kind of more being in jealous and envious energy. Why not work together with someone who is being loving and nurturing, but shadowy energy could be competitive? And, that can be the difference. Other people get in the relationship, but then they're actually defensive to doing love. But they want people to buy into the illusion of who they are, not authentically being loving, not willing to see the truth, not willing to become independent of their more egoic nature of self, to look at life from a higher perspective and wrap their brain around this game of life, and to detach from it, to work together with people more cooperatively. And it's like, no, no, no. I'm sure I can get what other people have, and I do not have to do love. And they're going to try, some of them. And so long as the other people in their life are people who might like to wear a false mask, or more codependent, or more about those things of the world, or what they got to offer, because that's what the devil offers, is more these things of the world than love, then that's up to those people. Everybody has the free will to manifest what they want to manifest. It's just that some of the other people already moved on. And they're moving forward, investing in their truth, trying to find other people who are more on the same page as them. If nothing else, though, they will be at peace within themselves, not being in relationships with people who want them to indulge them in a relationship in a kind of shadowy way. So what's coming up for the high vibe people? They might not see coming. The Knight of Wands. Why? Because of the Nine of Pentacles. So from the 5 to the 9 is taking back the Four of Pentacles. You know, detaching again, and it's again part of this journey of this phase of life. And then in the Nine of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy, in high vibe, that would mean that you've done this inner work within yourself to deal with the truth, see where you needed to heal and grow and mature yourself, see where other people did, see that everybody's not the same, but you did learn valuable lessons along the way, even though it could have been difficult and challenging and could have felt wounded and heartbroken. You know so much more than you did before when you kind of wanted to stay in denial of the truth. But now that you know the truth, and having gone through this journey could have really made you, in the Nine of Pentacles, it talks about kind of knowing your own worth and value and what you bring to the table. And all of that going on this journey has really inspired you. And that's kind of having this new beginning. You know, it can all take time, but eventually it sets you free to kind of go on this new journey, because in the Nine of Pentacles, you did become independent of an old cycle. And we go through these different cycles, and within one bigger cycle, like even for the people that are going through like a major one where it's like, I am less consumed by these things of the world and having those things manipulate me. You know, you've completed a major cycle, and you could have had to complete many smaller cycles within it. And eventually you've kind of learned the lessons. Again, the nines are, you're at that point of being able to have to close out a cycle, to go on this new adventure. I am not repeating that old pattern again. If I'm willing to meet people, I'm willing to get to know people, no longer chasing after people, no longer indulging people. I will work together with them, offer them truth and love, to work together with them in a just and fair way. If that's their truth, then I guess they'll want to do that. And if not, I don't get in my ego about it. It's like, okay. And you just see the truth of it. I can't bring my dream into reality with other people if that's not their truth. And I think as you're doing that in that energy, again, being loving and encouraging to people to work together and be inspired to have hope and faith and belief in themselves and their dreams, and love themselves and stand up for themselves and maintain balance within themselves and maintain balance in their relationships and stand up for it being just and fair and balanced. I think as you do that, other people will see you doing that. They know you could go do this if you wanted. You know, if we all wanted to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship, we could probably be in a relationship if we wanted. Maybe when, you know, depending on what you think you have to stoop to or whatever to get in one, you can get in one, you know, or really indulge some, or kiss some people's ass or lick their boots or stroke their ego or whatever, you know. I mean, if people wanted to do that, they could. And if you wanted to try to manipulate people, you probably could. But that's not what high vibe people are interested in doing. I don't want to manipulate anyone else, and I don't want anybody to manipulate me. And other people could see you as someone who is more independent, kind of inspired within yourself, balanced within yourself. Some of those, you know, the devil can mean that some people could be attracted to you and they see you like shining bright in the world and moving forward and loving yourself. And but some of those people, you know, got to work through their own fears and insecurities of loving and believing in themselves, you know, to maybe open up, you know. But, you know, and you might know some people who are like that, or they might be defensive because they know other people who seem like that, and those people were shadowy, you know, so then they're much less trustworthy of people. It's like, let everybody do what they do, you do you. and believe that the divine is working with you to manifest your dreams into reality. Keep taking action aligned with your truth. Don't go repeat some poor past patterns, and keep being inspired by your truth. What's coming up? But I think, that's how you'll get the justice. Like, if I want more just, fair, balanced, authentic, loving, supportive relationships, that's what I need to align with within myself. And again, it can be really difficult if we have some people we wanted to have move forward with us in that way and they don't. That's not their truth. Yeah, I mean, everybody could maybe act a little shadowy because they're frustrated. Why aren't you willing to work together more cooperatively? And yeah, that might be just the thing that's needed. Everybody get frustrated enough that I can't do this anymore. Might not be pretty. What's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming? It's kind of looking like there's a lot of fire sign energy in the reading that, it just depends on how people probably harness their fire sign energy more so. In their Aries, their Leo, and their Sagittarius, are they more tempered in their ego or more manipulated in their ego to whatever that is? Are they more about themselves, or are they someone who is inspired? Because high vibe Aries would be like becoming an emperor. Are they more about looking like a boss in the world? Or are they more about acting with character and integrity and walking the truth is more important than looking like a boss in the world, male or female? And then Sagittarius can just be what more drives and motivates them. Are they curious about life and want to keep learning lessons, or are they someone who, again, doesn't? What's coming up for the shadowy people they might not see coming? The Seven of Swords, the Lovers, the Two of Pentacles, and the Five of Swords. And the reason is because of the Judgment. Well, they're always going to have people harness this energy in a more high vibrational way, calling judgment on them. You can fool in the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, which can be where people have a hard time listening to their intuition. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't keep fooling people all the time. If other people in their Aquarius and their Gemini dualistic nature are more motivated and inspired by love, and they're trying to move things forward, like, come on. And then the Mountain card kind of reminds me of Virgo energy. We have to overcome these obstacles, kind of if we want to star in the show of our own life. We need to work through these things that manipulate us. In the Two of Pentacles can be to pick up our investment in an old way of being, to get more balanced within ourselves. In the Five of Swords, kind of work through our mental conflict, like going through these phases. Work through your mental conflict about just not repeating certain patterns or habits or vices. Work through some of your fears and your insecurities and your self-limiting beliefs. And, it all takes time. That's also Virgo energy. It's kind of one of the slowest moving earth signs in the deck. Just to learn lessons in life. It's not a quick process. And there could have been some people who kind of deceived themselves. It's kind of like, oh, I'm just going to go do this. Like, some people could be, well, I'm not going to act more with character and integrity or whatever, blah, 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 until I get in a relationship. Oh, yep, then I will be right on it. And I will temper all these things I've been doing. Well, it just doesn't work like that. They were deceiving themselves. We can all have the best of intentions of picking up our investment in some habits and patterns and vices, but generally those things we don't change overnight. we can want to, but then in the Five of Swords, we kind of realize how hard it is, you know, because it's hard to not keep repeating a pattern and staying in a comfort zone. Again, we can be tempted, in our more, but I just want to feel better. I just want to indulge myself. Or, it takes time. High vibe Capricorn in the Four of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles, also the Devil, it takes work and effort to free yourself from things that manipulate you. Your own ego nature, your own self-indulgent nature. If you've been indulging other people and you have mental conflict about kind of not indulging them because they act whatever, immature or petty or whatever, If all those things have been manipulating you all this time, to suddenly think, oh, yep, if I meet someone or like someone who's been kind of lazy and self-indulgent at a job and maybe they get fired and they're like, yep, nope, next job I'm going to do things differently. Well, until they work through the reasons of, well, why do I do that? Here's a Bible verse. Why do I do the things I don't want to do? And why do I do the things I do? It's not easy to work through these things to see the truth, because there's a part of ourself that doesn't want us to see the truth. And then there's all the people we could hang out with and be in friendship or relationship with that don't want us to see the truth and are willing to be in friendship or relationship with us not dealing with the truth. And sometimes the only people we might have in our life that are encouraging us to love and believe in ourselves sometimes is ourself. And like God in high vibe, And for the people that really haven't worked through their mental conflict about, if they even think there is any higher purpose or truth. Well, why can't I just live my life like that? Why can't I just make my life about that? You can. But you're probably going to end up in a relationship with other people who make their life just about whatever that is. But for the people who don't want to reveal the truth, aren't kind of willing to learn lessons in life or see that they could benefit, you have to humble your ego to be willing to admit, I had some lessons to learn in life. And you probably have to be willing to speak the truth about how you kind of did indulge yourself in your defensive nature, your immature nature, or lacked hope and faith and belief in yourself, or in others, or in love, or got all up in your head, or whatever it is. And for some people, take accountability for their actions, and all of those things could be and just having better boundaries to themselves or to others. And for all those reasons, some people will keep repeating an old pattern. And because of that, some people in their life see they keep repeating that pattern. They keep seeing things are not going to move forward in a more just or fair or balanced way. And their dream isn't going to come into reality. The Five of Swords is also Aquarius energy. So it's kind of realizing the Seven of Swords, in this card, it's a lot of kind of an Aquarius and fire sign energy. What is your truth? What is your idea of the dream life? Are you willing to put things in perspective and kind of look at it from the bigger picture, and kind of holding yourself accountable, holding other people accountable, standing up for yourself, being willing to be more just and fair or not? And I think for some of the shadowy people who aren't willing to speak the truth in their earth sign energies of themselves, as just not their truth, the more high vibrational people in their life will move on. And they kind of decide it's just and fair for them to live more from their mind than their heart, to maybe kind of emotionally manipulate people in a relationship, keep juggling the truth, because they have mental conflict about the truth that it should be about love. And love is supposed to be just and fair. But they kind of don't want to do love, or they kind of really don't want to be just and fair. And they really maybe want it more about them. And I think they'll ultimately, not all of the people, but majority of the people that they surround themselves with will be people who agree with them because that's their truth too. And if they live their life that way, they don't want any of them to stand up for themselves. Because what if you grew up and healed and matured yourself, or worked through your past pain and heartbreak, or whatever it is that you're caught up in? What if you went and manifested the life of your dreams? Well, we'd all be jealous and envious. So it's like everybody works to sabotage each other. Well, I don't want you to love and believe in yourself. I don't want you to love and believe in yourself. We should keep doing this. Yeah, let's keep doing this. Let's keep making our life about this. Yeah. Let's keep indulging in this. I think that's just and fair. Screw those other people. But they're going to see other people more independent of being in situations or having some kind of attachments that don't manipulate them the way it manipulates these people. And some of these people could think they're very smart, and they could kind of eventually wonder, why do I put up with this shit? That person is in situations in their life where they don't have to put up with this shit. Why do I put up with this shit? It's because the other people stood up for themselves, even when they didn't want to. And then the Five of Pentacles, too, could talk about going through a period of feeling left out in the cold because you're not part of a group that you had been part of a group of. And they were willing to go through that period of feeling left out in the cold. To go be more independent, do this inner work within themselves, get more clear, and work through all of it. That, why would I keep staying someplace where I feel like it could have all these things of the world and the ego and the image, or people kissing my ass, or blah blah, but it's not abundant in truth and love and justice and fairness. And some people will stay in it because they're not willing to be more independent. Look to other people to be more loving and encouraging to them than them learning to be a more loving and encouraging person to themselves. And so they keep repeating an old pattern. And some of them, they already did do something kind of shadowy. It was kind of revealed. Those people moved on. Those people don't want to be in a relationship with them anymore. But they still could have learned the lesson and moved on, even while those other people moved on. But some of them just decided, oh, well, hell. Who else can I be in a relationship with? Or who else will hire me? And they'll just do the same thing over again. And partly it can be because they don't want to speak the truth, don't want to see the truth, don't want to deal with the truth. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.